So here we are live. It's Thursday, the 17th of December, and a very good evening to everybody. Hello, Jenny and Jan and Nick. Hello.
Hi, Nadine.
So my name is, I'm Nadine Parry, executive and leadership coach and workplace mediator and leadership trainer. I can't speak English. That's a good start.
Oh, yes, you can. Hi, my name's Jenny Ling. I'm a leadership development advisor stroke consultant, working predominantly in schools, developing leaders.
Hi, I'm Jan Daines. I'm an education consultant and I do some work with a number of charities as well, supporting leadership.
My name is Nick Sheriff. I'm a school inspector and I do some educational consultancy.
Great. Okay. So today the focus on our LinkedIn Live is 2020 for better or worse. But before we start, I just want to say a few things and perhaps give some feedbacks about our LinkedIn Live. I've received a couple of emails I would quite like to share with everybody because it's quite nice to see that we're showing up every Thursday, and some people are kindly emailing me to praise the work that we are doing on Thursdays. So I'm going to start with Audrey Dorival and Susanna Diegel. Now, those two wonderful ladies, I interviewed them on my podcast 76. And they've sent me an email saying, I recently watched your session, which included a discussion on developing a learning culture. Very interesting. So I know that they've listened to the whole of the LinkedIn Live. Tasnim Ajaj. Tasnim is the operations support manager for EDT. She sent me a text saying, I loved it. The four of you did so well. Really enjoy the discussion. And then I think it was 2 weeks ago, Farah Khan. So Farah is in Dubai. She's a school principal. And she said, what resonated with me was the topic of the conversation. And when you spoke about the before, during, and after the training, we were talking about the impact. So it's really great to receive that kind of feedback. So if you are listening to us from all over the world, and if you want to give us some feedback, we're very open to it. And we will read it with interest. Thank you very much. I had a question from Jenny Plant. Now, Jenny Plant is the founder of Account Management Skills. I know Jenny fairly well. She's actually a colleague of mine. She's a consultant. And Jenny asked a question. She's thinking about doing some LinkedIn Live. And she said, how do you manage to have 3 people with their names showing and any insight, tips into what works and doesn't? So maybe if I respond to the first part of the question, so Jenny, I use StreamYard, and when you use StreamYard, your guest actually can write their name, and you can also use your brand color on StreamYard. So it's very easy to use, and there's a great YouTube video that you can watch, which will explain all about that. The second part of the discussion is the insight and tips of what works and what doesn't. She's quite intrigued by the fact that we have been the 4 of us on LinkedIn Live. I think she's quite keen to do something similar. And she was asking us about, any tips, anything that we can share with her so that it's making it easier for her to start in January.
I think one of the most challenging things that we 4 have found is that we choose subjects that we're passionate about, and therefore we all want to talk at once. And I think that we have no secret symbols, which maybe we should have. I know I'm terrible because I'm always jumping in because I get really excited about things. And I think that it's about looking really carefully at people's faces. And you can see when I know Jan well enough to know when he wants to come in, because quite often he has a pencil that sort of floats about when he wants to come in. So I think actually giving each other space and actually allowing people to come to the end without jumping in. And I know that for me, that's been the hardest thing. And can I just say hi to Ken Batty, who's just come in on the content?
Yeah, Ken, it's good.
If that's the Ken that we work with in Dubai, which I think it is, then hi, Ken. Nice to see you.
Ken.
The top man. Nice one, Ken. Yeah.
Anything else, Jan, Nick?
I would say don't force it. you know, it has to be you, and you can spend a lot of time trying to get the technicalities right, the image perfect, and then it's not you. I think you just go with it, and you know, people will like you for who you are.
Yeah, I pick up on that. I think so I didn't wave my pencil, Jenny, so you didn't get. I pick up on that. I think the reason this seems to be working is we've fairly quickly relaxed into a way of doing things, which you said earlier, we're passionate about what we're talking about, and that's absolutely true. So we're never short of things to say, or we haven't been so far, but we've been able to relax into a way of doing things. And I know for myself that I'm generally not terribly good in front of a camera, but I've surprised myself in that I'm more relaxed than I thought it would be. And the reason I mention that is I think that's important, because I think what you did, Nadine, there was in inviting people to be involved. I'm guessing you thought carefully, at least I don't know, you can say in a minute, rather than scraping the barrel. And it seemed we seem to have coalesced into a way of doing things that it feels natural, because it certainly is from my point of view. And I think so. I think that would be my message, to find the right people, and then I suppose coach them into how you want them to be on you know, when they're presenting whatever they're saying. Does that resonate with how you did things, Nadine?
I guess for me it's a little bit different, because I'm the one who is doing the LinkedIn Live, so I look at the technical aspect of it. So when you say, Jan, that you're relaxed, I'd love to say that I'm relaxed, but deep down there is this fear that, you know, what if anything goes wrong? So I am looking everywhere around the screen. I guess I can be relaxed because we know each other. You know, the four of us, we know each other very well. We've worked together. We kind of predict as well how we are behaving, and I think it's helping the conversation. Often I am thinking, so what's the difference between my podcast and my LinkedIn Live, for example? Well, my podcast, I invite guests most of the time that I don't necessarily know as well as I do, you three. So I'm just wondering if the fact that we are friends actually helped, you know, with the LinkedIn Live, has helped it flow a little bit more, I would say, to start with. The second thing I would say is that we're actually always listening back to the LinkedIn Live. So we've every week we're quite disciplined with it, and we are listening, and we're noticing a number of things. Like last week, for example, we've noticed that somebody amongst us said 9 times, "I agree" with another person. And I think that you know, it's quite interesting to reflect on how we are having a conversation, the kind of things that we say, and how we are relating to each other, because ultimately, you know, conversation should flow. But by listening to them again, we're constantly learning. So for me, it's not only about doing a LinkedIn Live. It's also about elevating everything that I am doing, and making sure that I know how can I do that better? How can I elevate? So I hope, Jenny, I mean, is there anything else that you want to add, Jenny, Jan, and Nick? Or Jenny?
I think for me, there's the element of trust. And I think that without that element of trust, I mean, I've never been one for being out in the public domain, really. This is it's my second one. I did have something else that I did, which was in the public domain, which looking back is, you know, I learned to sit on my hands, let's put it that way. But I think that the trust that we have with the four of us, and I think that we all have a very similar but very different background. So I think, you know, we've all led organizations and we've all been there, and we can talk at quite some depth about that. But I think that from your point of view, particularly Nadine, because this is your LinkedIn Live, we're just guests here really, is that you have trusted us to be part of this, to be part of something that will make us all, including yourself, looking good and professional. Then I think that the trust that's there is of quite a high level, because there's no hiding mistakes or people saying the wrong thing. I don't think I've never sort of thought, oh God, they're saying the wrong thing. I haven't felt that. And that's perhaps to do with the level of trust and how well we know the sort of backgrounds and where we're coming from.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a tension, isn't there? Because we're all from a fairly narrow band of society, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you know, there's a danger that comes with that we don't have no perception of understanding of some issues that might be affecting others. Having said that, so that's one end of the spectrum, and the other thing is that we do need to be able to be confident that someone isn't going to be really ridiculously embarrassing. I'm fine with people being embarrassing, but say something. Yeah, but because it's going out live, you need, it's important that we conduct ourselves in a particular way and say things that are appropriate, or certainly not inappropriate. And so, whilst maybe looking to be more diverse in some ways, we still need to find a way of bringing us. It's the trust issue that you mentioned. You need to trust that when you offer something out, that someone's going to respond in the right way. To that. So it's not dangerous, really.
But it is unpredictable, because it's not scripted, and we don't know what's going to happen. And we seem to be able to sit down and chat. I mean, we know that we can do this anyway, because we do it a lot when we're working together. So we know that the conversation is always there, but it's really nice to hear that people are actually valuing what we're saying. So I think that's a positive that's come out of it, really.
Well, I hope they are, because that's why I'm doing it.
Nick, do you want to say anything? Or
I would. I mean, you're doing all the planning, so we don't really see that bit. So it's easy for me to sit here and think, yeah, don't worry about it. Just get on with it. It'll be fine. But of course, it's very different for you. So maybe it's your opinion that maybe counts more for feedback to is it
Jenny Plant? Yeah. In terms of planning, there is not much planning. It takes me 10 seconds to set up on StreamYard. We plan every week a topic. I don't particularly have time to do much research on the topic, so because of our experience and expertise and everything else, then we can talk about it. This is, I'd love to be spending more time on it. It's just I just do not have the time. So in a way, going live is very spontaneous. It's who we are. You can't hide behind. You're not acting, right? And I've had a number of people saying to me, actually, I've never thought that you would do that. It's nice to see you. And it's also nice to speak. I'll share something with the whole world now. I remember, I think it was the second time when Nick, you said to me that I was very quiet, and I was mortified when you told me that I had been quiet on the LinkedIn Live, because for me, as a coach, I listen to people, to my clients quite a lot. So for me, it's quite natural to listen to people.
Yeah.
So, but in another way, I thought, it's got a point. It's not coaching. I am clearly, on LinkedIn Live. So between each other, we're also giving each other some feedback, which is really good. And because there is trust, the feedback is given in a positive way, in a constructive way, and I think that's really, really important. So I hope, Jenny, that this is giving you a good insight about what LinkedIn Live is. So shall we start with today's topic? So we've had a first question from Leisa Grace. So Leisa is the editor of Teach Middle East magazine. Hello, and I know she's listening because she told me. So hello, Leisa.
Oh, hi.
you ask us, what book did you read in 2020 that left a lasting impression on you? So who wants to start?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
I'm reading. It seems boring, but I'm loving it, and it's called the New Digital Playbook. Sorry, the New Leadership Playbook for a Digital Age. It's by a guy called Doug Reddy from MIT, and it's all about that he foresees as a digital storm. That, you know, all these things of digital transformation, the new generations of people, the marketplace in which people work in, all of it has now changed, and that cumulative effect requires us to maybe consider things differently. So that's what I'd recommend.
Have you finished reading it?
I've got about 10 pages left.
Okay. Is it big? Is it quite
No,
heavy?
no, it's not heavy. No, it's quite
Okay.
and lots of lists and bullet points of things that you can take away and you could use in your own development. So I find it very helpful, actually.
Okay, I might read that, actually. Thank you, Nick.
I brought my book with me.
Okay. Oh.
It's a pretty obvious one for me, really. This is Imperfect Leadership by Steve Mumby. And those of you who know Steve, he led the National College for School Leadership, certainly for the majority of the time that I was there. And then he went on to EDT. And of course, we've all worked, well, three of us have worked for EDT. And what I found interesting about it is it's a commentary, A, by somebody that I know, but B, about the times that we've lived in. And he talks a lot about what was happening strategically at the college when I was there. And obviously I wasn't at the strategic level. I was working much more at an operational level. So I find it really interesting to hear the discussions and the conversations that were going on, whose outcomes I was familiar with. And also, I mean, he writes extremely well, and it's very. I haven't finished it, I have to say, but it's a very easy read, and it's all. And he is a truly authentic leader, and I think that's something that really comes across here, because he I wouldn't say he beats himself up, but he's very self-aware.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot, Jenny. Jan?
Well, I hope it's a bit like being on what's that program, Desert Island Disc, where you can, when you're allowed to take one luxury with you to the desert island. I want to appeal to be able to take to introduce you to 3 books. Actually, do you know, it's interesting. I've found that I have been reading more fiction during the 2020 than I normally do. I normally have a number of books on the go, and I pick them up as and when. Here's an interesting book. This is called Why So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Fix It.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's by Thomas Tomorrow Premusic. It's published by Harvard Business Review Press. And if I just say that it examines why arrogance and loudness have really enabled certain people to become leaders rather than humility and wisdom. And so I would absolutely recommend that completely. There you go. And it's called Why So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders. Now, 10 years, is it okay? Can I keep going?
Keep going. Yes.
Okay, great. So, well, this book is a book that I've gone back to. 10 years ago, Lindy and I did some charity work. We went and spent a year in sub-Saharan Africa. I was opening an IT academy in a township there, which was funded through a charity. And one of the people who was involved that gave me this book, and it's called Make the Impossible Possible.
Oh, I like that.
And it's by a guy called Bill Strickland. Now, Bill Strickland did a remarkable thing in the United States, where he opened a college and transformed not just a few people's lives, but an entire area, a city, really. Well, maybe it's a bit much to say a city, but and that was really useful for me at the time, because I was opening a new academic institution, and that's exactly what that guy did. So that makes really good reading. It's good reading anyway. And then the final one, which I read a little while ago, is called The Big Ego Trip, and it's by Glyn Harrison, and this is about it's an antidote to our culture of self-esteem. So it's about understanding where true significance comes from. A lot of people think it's to do with ego, and we talk about promoting self-esteem. It's more complicated and more interesting with that. So that's called The Big Ego Trip by Glyn Harrison. I highly recommend that.
Can we put these titles up? When we repost it, we could put all these titles up.
Yes, we will. We
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, we can add them in the comments, once the live is finished. Mine is on my iPad. So mine is this one. You've got 8 seconds from Paul Hellman. And actually, one of the quotes in there is something that I really like. It says, "There is no point in speaking unless you can improve on silence." Which
Very good.
Yeah.
Take the message. And it's really interesting, because it says that the attention span has dropped to 8 seconds, and therefore, the message has to be very, very clear, and communication has to be very effective. And for me, as a bilingual, it's quite tricky, because my brain is kind of in 2 parts, because there is the French and then there is the English, and I swap constantly, because at home I speak French, and then with my clients and my friends I speak English, and then I speak French again. So for me, this is quite challenging, and it's a really good book. So I recommend. So we've got 8 seconds. So I hope, Lisa, that we've answered your question, and hope to see you soon.
Great question. Yeah, great question.
Great question, yes. Okay, so 2020 for better or worse?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Jenny, do you want to start?
Ask my question. Okay. My question, whoever wants to answer it, is what's your most positive outcome or memory from 2020?
I read only last week. Carbon output is down 5% from last year. There's less nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere in China and Italy. And an odd byproduct of this year has been that the planet is a little bit better, because we haven't been in our cars and other things. And that's an odd thing to say. It's been a terrible period, but I think there's something very positive to take out of it.
That's great. Can I go next?
Yeah.
Mine is about people and the way that they've responded, and both individually, organizationally, and maybe more widely than that. So you may know that I'm in touch with a number of churches and church leaders through some of the bits and pieces that I do, and the way that churches aren't known for being, and church leaders in particular aren't known for being the most adaptive, responsive, nimble people. But actually, some of the things, and this certainly isn't across the board, but there are some remarkable instances of churches and church leaders putting stuff online. And I don't just mean services, access to all the other good work that those sort of faith organizations do. So somehow it's catalyzed people into doing remarkable things and to making developments that I think otherwise would have taken a long time. I wanted to mention, we're all involved in the evaluations in the Middle East. I just want to say to schools and school leaders everywhere, but particularly I think in the Middle East, but absolutely remarkable the way that they have found ways to keep going and to keep caring, and to keep looking after the well-being of of students and staff and parents and families actually as well. That's, it's been really interesting. And then the final thing, if I can just be allowed, I seem to be going in threes here today, which is just the selfless care that we've seen demonstrated from a number of people just under the surface. So you've got people working in care homes, in hospitals, supporting vulnerable adults. Those guys are putting themselves at risk quite often, and caring and providing. And I think what it's doing is providing a really interesting insight into mankind, humankind, and the way that when things do get difficult, we've responded magnificently.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a very good point actually that you're making. For me, when you asked that question, Jenny, I thought it was just for me personally. So I thought of 3 points for me personally. So the most positive outcome, first of all, for me, it's been friendship. I call it my tribe. I have some really great friends around me in different parts of the world, but it's not been an issue not to be with my friends face to face. We've been able to communicate, and the friendship is even stronger than before. So and I've seen myself, being on the phone or on Skype or Zoom or whatever for over an hour at time with my friends, just to take the time to actually talk about life.
Yeah.
And that's something I've sadly perhaps not taken the time to do very well before. So that's my first one. My second one has been is family related, and has been the wedding of our son in September. Because we thought it couldn't happen, and in fact it did. So instead of 200 guests, we had 15, which shows that everything can be done in a different way. And then from the work point of view, I agree with Jan, and I'd like to echo the work we did in Dubai just before March, and then the work that we did remotely on those evaluation, and absolutely agree with you, Jan, that I'm totally I don't know the word. This is where I am thinking in English. I'm totally in admiration for the work that teachers, have done in the schools in UAE. Totally, they have dealt with everything in such a way that is inspirational, and shows that everything can be done. So it's been a privilege for me to be part of that, and to see that actually it can be done, and to see students and to see everything online. It's just there is hope actually that online can work. This is a start, of course, but it can work. So so for me, those are the 3 positive outcomes.
Great.
Thank you.
We go to chat.
Oh, it's me. My question.
Yeah, it's your question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I wondered about habits. Or you might call them routines that you formed this year. Whether have you formed some positive habits that you'd like to mention, or maybe there've been some negative ones. It's worth mentioning those. Certainly, bringing them out into the open. Are these things having an effect on you? Have they had an effect over the year?
I was struck at how odd it was the other week when I went in for a physical meeting, of how odd that felt.
Yeah.
And it was weird. We'd missed that bit where before the meeting you would ask about somebody's personal life. There was much more of that going on, but it felt a bit odd because when we used to do it in teams, that doesn't happen. It's all about the meeting, and you're in and you're out and you're done.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's a bad habit for us, that people think, oh, why do I need a physical meeting? But back to the book, one of the things is this notion of the humanization element. Digitization's a bit faceless, a bit sterile, and I think there is a real need to fight back almost and say, oh, how do these tools help me still remain at being a half decent human? and I think maybe I think we will try harder to see the sort of humanity in like the exchanges we have. You know, I know it's in a work sense. I phoned my mother-in-law on FaceTime more than I ever did.
Good.
I speak to my son more on FaceTime than I would if he was in the house. Now he's gone back to the UK, and it seems seamless. And I think I'll continue to do that. It's good for me because he's going to go to university the year after next, and I think we are learning really good habits that will make us, you know, give us a much stronger relationship than maybe we had before.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, great. Particularly with your mother-in-law, I was very impressed with that, Nick. Well done.
Yeah, I didn't say that was, you know, my own doing. It just as I turn up.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. Yeah.
Go. Anybody else?
Shall I do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, if you talk about habits and routines, which started in lockdown, is that I do some form of exercise. Because the gym was shut, I do some form of exercise each day. I'm not a gym bunny because I'm too badly coordinated to be a gym bunny, but I do need to keep moving. And when the gym was shut, I would do these videos for 20 minutes to half an hour every day. So basically, when I got up, I put my gym kit on, nothing else. And so did my husband, and so did my daughter. And, you know, obviously the advanced class was in the other room, and the dyspraxic class was in this room, where you have to have plenty of space, otherwise you get kicked or hit with.
Yes.
But I think even now that I'm back at the gym, I'm still doing that, because the days that I'm not there, I'm still doing 20 minutes to half an hour. I can't say I do it 100% of the time, but I would say maybe 70%. And
Wow.
I think that one of the things that you're probably all familiar with is that when we're out in Dubai or out somewhere working, is how much time we spend in a hotel room. And I had prepared for the next trip out to Dubai with my rubber bands. And I was filmed actually using the rubber bands so that you could do any sort of, I mean, it was horrendous. And it's not something for public domain, but the coordination required to get the bands to work, they're resistant basically, so they work against you.
Resistant bands, yeah, TheraBands.
Yeah. So basically, I'm prepared now, so that if and when we return to our traveling, I can do my own little gym in a hotel room, and that means that I'm able to keep up my level of fitness even if I'm away for 5 weeks, which for me is good, because I don't like to go back, because then you've got to climb the hill again.
Yeah, great habit actually, Jenny. Yeah. What about you, Nadine?
Okay, so for me, there's a number of things. First of all, I've been able to do more yoga and meditation, and I walk every day, no matter what, even if it's raining. And this has had a massive positive impact on my work, because I work more. I work deeper. My work is deeper, but shorter, but I work more, if that makes sense. My thinking is very clear. It's not foggy, which is great, because I don't travel. I'm not spending hours on the plane, so that's great. And I've been able to do and to invite 24 people on my podcast this year.
Wow.
And actually counted 24 people I've never met in my life, right? And last year I think it was about 10 or 12. And for me, this new habit is that I like to make people shine. I like to put them on stage and shine, because I think there is something great about every one of us. And those people have been pretty amazing. So I'm quite grateful, really, for that new habits, because I would not have done it if I was not in the situation that I am currently. And the last habit is, I was quite good at giving gratitude to people, but I think I've become very systematic now at being grateful to people. I say it a lot to people, and I'm quite pleased about that, because deep down it's important for me to be grateful to people. It's part of me, and it's part of who I am. So I'm happy that I've been able to do that. Yes.
Brilliant. Good to know.
Okay, it's my question.
Yeah, your question.
What are you abandoning and leaving behind in 2020?
Shopping. For
Shopping.
me, I think shopping. Yeah. I used to shop because I enjoyed it. I used to enjoy particularly clothes shopping. I didn't need the clothes. And I think the first 3 months of lockdown, I mean, the outfits that we wore, and I'm sure everybody else is the same, with absolutely no regard to how you looked. It was more about being comfortable. And then I started to rediscover all the clothes that were at the back of the wardrobe. So I think that for me, I've probably got enough clothes to last me for the rest of my life. And I have no desire to go. I haven't been into Newcastle since January. I live on the outskirts of Newcastle. I haven't been in since January. If I need to do any Christmas shopping or anything, I will go and shop locally. We've got some lovely market towns fairly close. So that's where my Christmas shopping is happening. So I think for me, what I'm leaving behind is the pleasure of shopping. I don't find it's a necessity now, and that's all. So I'll save myself a huge amount of money.
Okay, that's
Great.
good.
I'm not a great abandoner. I'm more of a. I was reading something about New Year's resolutions, and the way to make them effective is to go for something new rather than decide to do something new rather than not do something that you that you feel is bad, if you like. And that resonated with me because I don't really. I think I just naturally shed things that are just I don't really want to be involved with, and so for me, what am I abandoning? I couldn't actually think of anything I'm abandoning because I don't go shopping, Jenny. For example, if you look at a photo of me 15 years ago, I'm wearing the same things today.
Yeah, it's a man thing, really, isn't it?
It might be a man thing. I don't know, but so yeah. Anyway, that's a quick answer from me.
Lisa is saying, Nadine, whatever you do not give up shopping because you have such great style. Thank you. Just take it online if you must. Right. I would never be able to give up shopping.
Doesn't need any encouragement, Lisa.
Lisa, Dubai shopping mall is by the Burj Khalifa is my favorite place. So yeah.
It's a bit overwhelming. There's too many shops there.
Good job, so different.
Right. Okay. So Nick, do you want to say something?
Yeah, come on, Nick.
I'm a bit like Jan. I don't abandon things. I'm constantly, I think, evolving and tweaking, and I don't hang on to things that don't work. I am struggling with this idea that I used to have, and that was that a digital future was always going to be good and it was always going to work. And actually what we've learned this year is, left to its own devices, it won't work. It needs humans, a bit like we said with schools. It's an amazing first start, but I don't think there's any evidence that it works yet. And I think it requires us to revisit what we mean by digitization and education and even work. So I think I'm probably maybe abandoning my old ideals of what it used to be, and maybe a bit more open to the human input, because I'm quite techie. My setup here is very techie, and maybe that's not enough. It's not going to work if I just keep doing that.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm abandoning the idea that I will not have a car. So I now have a car, which is a big thing for me. And I'm abandoning the idea that I would finish my life in France. I'm not. I'm going to be staying in the UK.
Oh.
Yes. So I shall sell my property in France, and I will finish my life in the UK. It seems
big decision, yeah.
But it's a huge decision. But we decided to stay closer to our 4 children, and that's completely because of what's happened with COVID. We've decided that in fact we want to be closer to the children, so who are very adults, who can live without us. It's fine, but yes, so the UK is going to be my final place for me, which is great.
Yeah, good to hear.
Yeah. Jan, next
Me
question.
again?
Yes,
My
it's you again. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I wondered how our networks have changed over the year. What with these odd influences, whether they've prompted any unexpected additions, unexpected deletions, whether you're having more frequent contact or less frequent contact with certain segments of your network. Just thought it might be worth exploring that for a bit. This is a LinkedIn a platform, so kind of it fits nicely with a network.
I think mine's become more condensed because I think that because you're not seeing people casually, you have to make some kind of arrangement to have any kind of contact with people, be it through WhatsApp or on the screen. So I think that the people that I've stayed in contact with, I've actually increased the contact. I mean, probably not a day goes by without Nadine and I either WhatsApping, sometimes quite late into the night. I thought, I'm sure she went to bed earlier than this. So I think that the focus of my network, I think, has become condensed. And I think that I don't see an awful lot of people, but the people that I do see, I see virtually more often.
Okay.
Yeah, I would probably say similar. Over here, the expat WhatsApp group has changed, where it was very haphazard and casual. I mean, I have 2 or 3 guys here. I'd speak to them every day, even if it's just silly little things. And it's good. I mean, you almost forget what you got out of the personal relationship with people, and you try and get that digitally. Obviously, it's a failed attempt. You'll never get it, but I think you get something else. And I was just thinking back to almost the abandoning thing. I'm almost abandoning email in the same way because of the limitations of what email does. I now just send the nuts and bolts on email, but I always do on a Teams call or a Zoom call, if you like, mainly because, I quite like a chat with somebody for 5 or 10 minutes. And I think it helps, Yes, of course, I can explain my super technical email and it gets across easier, but I think secretly, we all quite like the exchange. And I think I did see something, I might have said it the other week, CEOs feel that they're closer to their staff, because while you're waiting for people to come on, you're talking to them, how's your wife, your kids and things, that probably wouldn't happen in a strict office environment all the time.
No.
So I think my network has grown in maybe I'm less technical and more soft with my exchanges with people, I think.
Okay.
How about you, Nadine?
Well, I was, as a business owner, I was in different communities, and I've decided to leave those communities. So I only go to the people when I need something very specific. So I don't mingle as much as before onto those online communities. I've become perhaps yes, I just go for the specific when I need something very very specific, very unique. I am more in touch. My network has changed with my accountant, for example, and I've been more in touch with my accountant because of Brexit, because it's affecting me massively, really. First, as a French national living in the UK, and second, as my business, because I've got a lot of clients in France. So I have my network around accountancy and business, and I've had to have more discussion around that because I need to prepare my business and so that it's ready for January, where if there is a deal or no deal, it's got to be. I've got to be aware of what I am supposed to be doing. So I've taken a lot of time to invest into knowing more. And my accountant, Mahmoud Riza, has actually been amazing. He's on LinkedIn and he does LinkedIn Live, and he's an amazing guy. So I am very very grateful to him. And I think it's a little bit like what Jenny and Nick were saying. I am also more visual. Before, I used to send a lot of emails, and now I am a lot more on. I actually send videos to people by email so that they see me. I use some apps that I would never have used before. I also use the voice on LinkedIn. You can send messages using voice. So I do that, and even for my children now, I do that as well. And once a week on LinkedIn, I also do a video. And the reason why I do a video is because it's got caption on it. You see, what really bugs me on LinkedIn Live is that there is no caption. And I think that's a big miss for people. So that's why during once a week, I do a video, and I've really been good at it for the past 4 weeks. I'm really, being quite disciplined about it, and I'm going to make sure that I do that more in 2021. I do LinkedIn Live more if there were captions, but there is no caption. So I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Well, let's hope that Mr. or Mrs. LinkedIn Live are listening, and they'll attend to that particular omission.
Yes.
I mean, can I just add, the other thing I didn't say is I almost have a learning network, but it's not people I know. I spend much more time now listening to podcasts, listening to people on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I think I've become much more well-rounded, more educated. I mean, I'm really not interested in TV much anymore. You know, that mass media 10-second soundbite. I'd rather somebody articulate their ideas to me for 20 minutes or an hour. So I think I've built up almost a remote learning network in this environment that I'm going to keep. I think I'm never going back to what I used to do.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that's a great question, didn't you? Who?
Yes, Jan.
It was you, Jan.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah, good.
Well done. Okay.
Multi-layered. You see, mine are all short and sweet, and yours are all complex and multi-layered. And my next one is very short and sweet. Is who has emerged as your personal hero this year?
All right, I'll go first. It's a bit awkward, personal hero, high bar. But the person who's impressed me the most this year was my technophobic wife school teacher, who at the start of lockdown, I thought, oh, this is going to be tough. But she's now brilliant. You know, all the apps, Teams, Apple Mac, and it's amazing, you know, and in sort of the space of 6 months, she has totally upskilled herself to now actually being one of the leaders in the school, saying, why aren't we doing like this? Why aren't we using this application? And that is pretty amazing, to the extent now where, you know, my help is no longer required. So I'm surplus to requirements as the tech guru in the house. She outsurpasses me now. So I think in that sense, and also not just the learning, but I hear her with her lessons in her kids, you know, where she's taken over the dining room and the kitchen, if you like. And there is a skill to her where she jokes with the kids that she's like a telephone operator. One moment, caller, I'll be with you later. And just putting the fun into it, taking those hard technological edges off that remote classroom and making it enjoyable for the kids. So probably her.
That's great. Thanks, Nick. And that reflects back to what we were saying, what Nadine was saying about the teachers in UAE.
Yes.
Technology. Jan.
Well, I'll follow that in a very similar way. My wife teaches piano, and she's been doing that remotely as well. And like your wife, Nick. Well, I say like your wife. I'm making a huge assumption, but she wasn't the most comfortable technologically, but it's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm full of admiration for the way that she has not just met that head on, but also it's been wonderful listening. I can hear very clearly the way that she's dealing with, and it's been fantastic. Just one other thing I want to say: I don't really have heroes, but I admire people who very quietly stand up for what they believe. And one of the people who's fairly high profile because he plays rugby for Saracens in England. There's a guy called Billy Vunipola, and he's I think he's I should know, but I think he's Fijian heritage or that sort of area. So that's important because, you know, there's a lot of stuff around the Black Lives Matter thing at the minute, and there's a lot of sportsmen who are taking the knee, as they say, at the starts of games and things, and Billy Vunipola doesn't, because he doesn't agree with some of the other aspects of that campaign. There's some negative aspects of that, and I think that takes a huge amount of courage to do that, because it's on a live stage, and people you know, are very quick to condemn when they don't really understand. So if I had a hat on, I'd be taking it off to Billy Vunipola at this particular moment. There we go.
That's good.
Thank you. Nadine.
Okay, so for me, I mean, my personal hero will always be my father, who passed away 5 years ago. But he gave me mental strength, and I think we all needed mental strength this year. And I have drawn into that and into what he told me. Behind me, there is a frame. It's a poem that I wrote about my dad, and the 5 key points that he told me in my life all the time. And this year, I've looked at that frame every day because it's kind of helped me going, and he was right about what he said. So for me, he will always be my hero. So that's my dad. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely.
Yeah,
It's interesting that you've all talked. I wasn't, when I posed the question, I was expecting somebody from the general public, or I wasn't expecting you all to give personal heroes, which I think is actually probably a much more fitting tribute to the people who you're closest to and the people who impact on your life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you.
What about you, Jenny? What would you respond to your question?
What would I respond to my question? The public side of it, for me, is these stories that you hear about children out there doing amazing things. And, you know, it could be that they've got a disability and that they're doing some fantastic fundraising, or it's I think for me, my personal hero is the spirit of these children growing up in such a different way, and actually flipping it and making it, coming through with kindness, compassion, and all the sorts of attributes that you'd hope your children did. So I think for me, it's the young people growing up and showing how it can be done, really.
Brilliant.
Really good. Okay, I think I'm next. What are your top 3 priorities for 2021?
Shall I, as there's a wall of silence? I'll break it. Okay. So, number 1, keep my eye on the outcome. I do a lot of work in quite difficult situations where there's all sorts of stuff going on, and it's important to keep your eye on the outcome, so that it's human nature to want to get a pound of flesh out of something, or to you know, to make someone pay for something they've done or said. Actually, I don't find that. I've come to realize that's not very helpful. So keep my eye on helpful. Number 2, because you wanted 3, didn't you?
Yeah.
Is to I'm still a bit quiet with what I do in my day-to-day life, really, business-wise, and so I would like to find a wider base to support leaders in. So that's one of my priorities. And then the third one is simply just, I want to reduce the amount of time it takes me to get out of my wetsuit. That's a really big priority.
Because you're doing, is it canoeing that you're doing?
Well, swim either river or sea, and I just like a beached whale when it gets to the end of it. I'm sort of flapping around trying to get the thing off, really. I need to develop a more sort of swift way.
I think you need to redesign the wetsuit in that case, because I don't think there is such a thing. This is the guy who swims in the North Sea.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what season it is, it's always freezing.
Anyway,
Thank
move
you,
on.
Jack. Thank you.
Come on,
Any-
chap.
I don't mind going. I've only got 2. I'll stretch to 3. I think I'm going to go on a new adventure. I think one thing that lockdown has shown is how dull life can be, and you know, if you let it, you know, and it has been difficult to not be dull, you know, on the same treadmill as Jenny's saying, you know, doing gym work in your house, you know, great, but that's no future for me. So I want another adventure and do something else. I think this year. From the book, there was a quote that came out, and that is to learn your ABCs: AI, big data, and the cloud. And I think whilst I'm not a programmer, and I never will be, I think I'm going to try and make more effort this year to learn how that fits in to maybe my third one, which is keeping the humanity in digitization. You know, humanity and the ABCs don't naturally go together.
Very good.
I think this year, certainly with schools having put so much effort in it not working, what you can't do is negate the effort. You know, yet it doesn't mean that these teachers won't do another huge lift and get it working once we've sorted those bits out. So I think I'm gonna try and be better at that, I think.
Right.
Okay, my turn. Right. Some time ago, I had a very interesting coaching session with an excellent coach called Nadine Powery. And I can't actually remember the context in which this arose, but one of the things that came up is that I've always wanted to be able to sing. And I can't sing, or at least that's my perception. So I happened to find a song that I thought was the song I wanted to learn. And apart from the fact I can't remember the lyrics, which I can't because I've got a terrible memory, I'm now rehearsing almost daily singing this song. Fortunately, my husband's quite musical and he's backing me. And then, I mean, Nadine knows this is quite a big thing for me. And yesterday, my daughter had decided she had to sing a song and she can't sing at all. So I was asked to back her to kind of develop her voice a bit. And I sang out. And it was recorded, and I thought, oh, I sound okay. So it's given me a huge boost of confidence. The time will come, Nadine, when I will send you a copy of this song. I'm not there yet, but I'm well on the road. And I don't think I would have done that had we not had that session. So for me, the big one is learning to sing. Secondly, I think reflecting on Nick's is I've been desperate to get away and travel, and I've toyed with the idea of renting a camper van or going off to Greece for the summer or something. I find that because I travel with my work so much, that the travel has had a part of a holiday component. So I'm desperate to get away and do something like that. And I think the opportunities in adventure, I think because we've been sort of so constricted this year, I think I want to go out and do something really brave. And I don't know what that is yet, but that's what I would like to do.
Great.
Okay. For me, my top priorities are, well, first of all, my family. I have 4 children and 1 grandchild, and hopefully more in the years to come. So I just love being a mother, and I've been able to probably be more in touch with my children because I've been here in the UK. Secondly, it's my health and well-being. And because I've been able to do yoga and lots of walk, I'm pretty fit, I would say. I'm probably at my best in terms of fitness. So I'd like to keep that up if I can. And my third priority is my business, where I'd like to continue for it to expand. My business has expanded very quickly over the past 5 years, and I'd like it to continue like that, but in different ways. So I've developed a clear vision. I'm not into 5 years vision because it can be wrecked very quickly. So I'm pretty clear in the next 2 years what I want to do and how I'm going to do it. So those are my top 3 priorities. Okay.
Great.
Jan?
Yeah. Are we keeping going? We're coming to the hour.
Yes, we're above 1 hour, but it's okay. We've got two more questions. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think this is a great question. I was. It's been the sort of year, hasn't it, where we maybe are looking to looking at different things, have the opportunity to look around, and I wondered what and where you're looking, and how. What, where, and who you're looking for to influence your thoughts, your approaches, and your actions. So it's about the things that you are intentionally allowing yourself to be influenced by. What, where, and who?
Okay, can I start?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, for me, it's my mentor, supervisor for my coaching, because I'm an executive and leadership coach, and her name is Tracy Sinclair. You probably know that I'm qualified as a coach, and I have to do a lot of training to keep that going. And Tracy has been my mentor, supervisor, and has given me a very thorough feedback on transcript of some coaching sessions that I did with some of my clients. And those hours have been very powerful in the feedback that she gave me. And it's massively influenced who I am becoming as a coach, because I am an ACC at the moment. I would like to be an MCC. So it's a level up. So that means you go even deeper in the iceberg, and you coach the person, not necessarily the problem as such. So she's given me a lot to think about in terms of what I want to achieve and how I want to achieve it, because the problem with me is that I want everything done yesterday in what I do in my life. And she said, it's okay to aim to do my MCC, PCC first in 2 years' time. So we discussed that. And the second influence for me are my clients, because my clients are from different places around the world, and I help them all at the moment navigate change, and it's quite tricky. So I am listening to what they are. I'm listening to their emotion, to their behavior, to what they are telling me, and it's massively influencing who I am becoming as a coach, because there are topics that I'd never coached before. I've never, for example, had to have a coaching conversation about grief as such.
Right.
And I'm not particularly prepared to have a conversation about a pandemic of that size, for example, which has massive impact at work, but you still end up talking about the pandemic. And so for me, it's been a massive influence, and it's making me want to level up what I do to be an even better coach. So everything is linked up, and I am going to be investing even more in my training for my coaching. That's a priority for me. Yeah.
Nice one. Jenny's drinking, Nick, so you're up next.
Okay. My inner circle of people, obviously, I think, you three have been quite influential this year for me, no secret, the help with work in bits and pieces, and a number of skills I maybe don't have, but have lost. They've been in hibernation for a while, and they've now come out to play again, which has been great. And I'd like to continue that, obviously. You can say yes or no. It's up to you.
Cards, right?
Yeah. And that's the inner circle bit. I think probably more my wife now in a professional capacity. You know, whereas before I was the one with the solutions. Now, actually, I'm going to her for the solution. So I think we're going to have a different dynamic around work.
Yeah.
And then I think I am looking at the work of people like Douglas Murray. I watch the Mark Maron, the Joe Rogan podcast, which are really broad. They're not left, right, red, blue. And I've just got a new app because I've sacked Twitter. I can't be dealing with it. And I've got something called Parler. And on Parler, you can have a button where you can have non-bias or a bias. So you can choose to receive the opposite views of your own. And that's been quite interesting, you know, to try and understand, you know, other people, especially around things like, you know, the big identity politics stuff, which it's easy to rally against, but, you know, you're not going to solve it. And there was a great thing from that Simon Sinek, is it?
Yeah.
He talks about the millennials. And it's odd that the argument is framed that it's the millennials' fault and that they need to change their way to fit in with existing business practices.
Yeah.
When, you know, certainly that book I recommended, the idea is, the future of these young people. Business needs to change to accommodate these young people because they're the ones,
really
you know, it's their world. And then the other thing, going back to the Dubai thing, is I am increasingly being influenced by certain school leaders and teachers who are genuinely pushing the envelope with their ideas about what remote and digital learning could be and what they're capable of doing. You know, I can sit in a boardroom with the top 20 people in Dubai, and they'll never come up with that amazing idea that a primary school teacher's got for getting something over to her children. So I think that's it. I've got an inner circle, and then I've got this sort of outer circle of things that I think I'm going to just keep going with this year and see what happens to it.
Ah, fascinating. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Jenny.
Interesting. Yes, I've shut a lot of doors this year because I've just felt that I'm not out there as I used to be. But there are two people who I've kept up a level of communication and a level of firing off, and one's Nadine, and one is my personal trainer. And both these people share the quality of having inventive, exciting minds, so that either Nadine or I will come up with something. It's more often Nadine than myself, I have to say. But we bounce off each other and create things as a result of that. And with my personal trainer, over the last 4 years, he's developed, in terms of personal development, is now what he calls his thing. And so for an hour, he gets free coaching from me. I pay him to coach me physically. And we have some of the most interesting conversations that you can get. I mean, today, for instance, I asked him about 2020, thinking about what was coming up. And he came up with absolutely brilliant answers as to the qualities that he saw that enabled him to be successful this year, and how other people who perhaps felt things had been done to them could flip that by taking more control. So I think that my key influences would be Nadine and Max from Maximum Fitness. So Max, you better watch this.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the question was born out of the thing which Nick mentioned, which was a real concern of mine, that we, particularly at a time when we maybe not meeting face to face and relying on media to present us with the things that we then digest. And I'm just hugely worried about that, because you know, how do you know you're getting a balanced a diet? That Parler thing is a fascinating, you know, click off the bias button. I still get, and I will continue to get a paper, as in, it's not daily, it's weekly, but a paper, because it's the full thing, and I can choose what I look at. Whereas if you go on a website, you know, they will have used your past browsing history to decide the diet you receive. I mean, I think this is hugely dangerous, and isn't helpful. So I think we should fight it. So it's been fascinating, and to get more diverse in our influences. Don't only talk to people that you agree with, because you're missing something. You won't learn something.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think we said that in January onward, it would be good to invite different people on our LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
I've already spoken. Lisa has agreed to come on our LinkedIn Live, which is good. And I've invited another person as well, and they've already said yes. So I think it's going to be important. You know, you're talking about diversity and being inclusive, and you know, I think it's really important to give everybody a voice and to manage those difference of opinions, and to show that we can do it. So we will do that as from January.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Okay, I have a final question, which is, how could a personal advisory board or a thinking board help you be at your best for 2021?
I'll give you a quick answer then, by asking challenging questions, by making sure that you're accountable.
I think there's a danger when you're quite good at things, that the echo chamber is people tell you you're quite good. You know, when we went through my mock interview the other day, what was really good was the slaughterhouse. That was that's slightly extreme. No, but I think it was the honesty and the, you know, if you've got a group that you trust, they are very happy to tell you exactly how it is with no recourse, no comeback, and you take it, I think, better because you know it comes from a position of empathy. They've got your best interest at heart, and I think without that tightness of the group, it's easy to lose focus and drift off and accept mediocrity, and it is harsh, I think, because no one likes their ego being burst, but I think it's extremely helpful. I mean, I was pretty awful the day after, thinking, whoa, these people are my friends. But the day after that, you know, my action plan of coming back was amazing, and I ticked all the boxes, and I was feeling great. And I think that is extremely useful.
Yeah.
We did exercise our duty of care, Nick, because we did check on you the day after, right?
No, it was very good. It was very good.
I mean, we didn't use slaughtering language. We were quite kind with the language. It may not have been kind with the concept, but we were very supportive in our language.
I think I quite like the term that warts in all. You can take the warts in all criticism if it comes from people who've got your own best interest at heart, because you know it's right. They want you to be better and do well, as opposed to someone just criticizing from the sideline who you don't value, and maybe they haven't got your best interest at heart. And I think it's important to have the group so you know that the information you're getting is truthful and valuable.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick.
Well, it's me then, isn't it? It's a bit touchy-feely for me, this. I
thought we trained you now, Jan.
Yeah. But how could a personal advisory board help you be at your best? I think one of my big problems, and I hope it relates to a whole series of others, is that I'm not very good at seeing what's here. So I'm quite able to deal with the thing that's in front of me, but I'm not good at, it's not that I don't know it's there, it's about my own capability, and I'm not very good at realizing how the things that I've got, the things that I can do, relate to other areas. And so I think how a group like that could help me would be to serve as a continual reminder that Jan, you know, you've got the experience that would actually be helpful in this situation. I mean, what we're doing now is a very good example. That's something that you've done for me, Nadine, is to you know, and if I'm honest, I still don't really understand what is it you see there, but you know, it's kind of, no, seriously, generally. So I mean, that for me, I suppose it's that holding being honest and saying, okay, you know, these are things you can do, these are things you can't, this is where you need to improve, this is yeah. So
I see a lot in you, Jan.
Yeah, you keep saying, yeah, I don't see. Thank you for that. Yeah,
Jenny?
Jenny's been.
I've been.
You have been, yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why
I mentioned you, Nadine. You've forgotten.
Yes. No. I've not forgotten. I'll answer my own question. I think for me, it's key to have a board to enable me to be at my best, because I have very high standards. I'm very competitive. I've always been competitive. And I always want to evolve. Once I've got something, I want to evolve. The day after, I want to evolve. It's like it's never stopping. And my husband keeps telling me, you know, just enjoy being at that height. It's
Be in the present,
right?
Yeah.
You don't need to be at the summit straight away. Just enjoy. And I think the board is helping me to elevate, do better. Be at my best, you know, and that's quite interesting actually, because for a board to do that, they need to know me. And sometimes people say things, and clearly I'm thinking that they don't know me, because otherwise they would never say that.
Yeah.
So it's about making sure that those people don't make any assumptions, and see the what else I could do, and help me get there. So I've got
take time to smell the roses.
Yes. But I've got a few ideas that I want to share with you in 2021. And, you know, a bit what we've done with you, Nick, is, okay, let's look at that. And how could you do that? And what about this? And what about that? Because I think it's really important to listen to everybody's ideas. I see in a particular way, you know, I've got a pair of glasses. Yeah, I see in a particular way, and you're going to give me your eyes, and you're going to make me see differently. And for me, that's really important. It's really important.
It's that 360, isn't it? Seeing all around.
It is, you know, and also because you know me, you can tell me different things, and perhaps you see things that I don't see myself in me, a bit like what Jan, you know, you say, well, I don't really know what you see in me. For me, it's not that, but it may be that I can draw on something that I have that I don't know that I have. I mean, Nick has seen me work. You were in my team in Dubai. I don't know that lovely email that you sent me that I've kept actually. And I thought, I know you sent me a really lovely email, and I thought, how lovely, but I don't necessarily see that. Because I'm on the next thing. I'm already, you know, 10,000 miles ahead. So that's we've in a way we've not done that, but we are going to be doing it retrospectively, because I think it'd be good to get those books titled together, and to put them on the take-home message, you know, and the app that you talked about, Nick, as well. So
yes,
I think if we can put that together, so that on Saturday or Sunday I publish the document for everybody. People tell me that this is quite helpful for them. So messages will continue to do in 2021. Well, you know what? I've really enjoyed tonight. It doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed the previous sessions, but
it's been different, hasn't it? Yeah.
It's been different. I've enjoyed those questions. It seems to flow in a different way, probably more equal, the way that we've spoken. And we've not interrupted each other. Have you noticed that? It's been
more controlled, hasn't it? Because you've been asked a specific question. So that has, and that's moved around as well, which is good.
Yes. Yeah. We shall reflect on that when we listen.
We will.
In live. But, Thank you so much, my friends, for being here on this LinkedIn Live. I'm really grateful. And I know, Nick, it's in Dubai. It's like 9 o'clock and 9.
And our next one is 7th of January.
Yes, it is.
We'll take a couple of weeks off, yeah?
We are taking a couple of weeks off because it's Christmas and New Year's. So, but we will be back and we will elevate the LinkedIn Live. And if around the world there are any specific topics that you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. If you have any question, please let us know. Ken has just say, thank you all for interesting and enjoyable watch. Message for Jan, new hip operations scheduled 2nd week in January, COVID allowing. Oh, okay.
Good man.
Okay, wishing you all the best, Ken, and hoping to see you at some point.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, everybody.
Yeah, great stuff.
See you soon.
It's good evening from London and good night from Dubai, Nick.
Yes, good night.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. Yeah, great.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks everybody for listening. Yeah.
Bye, Lisa.
Bye, everybody.